Are you sick of Rey updates yet? Because today we have another one, my dear friends. This comes from Variety.com. So, Daisy Ridley was interviewed about the film Sometimes I Think About Dying, as well as her future plans, and as you would expect, she was asked about Star Wars. She knows that she will always be seen by most fans as Rey. Before the Bad Batch Season 3 presented itself as a welcome distraction, there was nothing but Rey rumours, Daisy Ridley news, outrage over Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's comments, controversy. It was all over the place. You couldn't avoid it in Star Wars circles online. So I'm just going to get to the meat and potatoes of what she was asked. And I will just point out, there is a massive contradiction in something she says. Try and see if you can spot it when it comes up. But I will highlight it, and it is an example, of course, with NDAs. She can't reveal too much, but her claiming she doesn't know anything is blatantly not true. But first things first, here was the question from Variety. You're reprising your role as Rey in a new Star Wars movie directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. How will the franchise's first female filmmaker impact the series? My goodness, that's a lot of F's in a row. Daisy replies with this. The short answer is, I don't know. I'm excited to do the job, but not because Sharmeen is a woman. Her documentaries are amazing. Her idea for the story is cool as Skittles. That's the word I'm going to use. No spoilers, but she gave me a rundown of the entire story. If it weren't amazing, I would have been like, okay, call me in 5 years. But it's worthwhile. So just to comment on a couple of things and break one or two things down, it is kind of cool that Daisy Ridley is saying it's not about the gender, and it's also reassuring to hear her say that the story is cool. We know in the past she said it's unexpected and is going to take Star Wars in a brand new direction, but when she kind of implies she wouldn't have done it and would have pushed it down the line if she didn't like the story, I can see that being kind of true, but it's also the case that Daisy was not seeing as much success with projects outside of Star Wars. She's very talented, don't get me wrong. I think she's an amazing actress, but in terms of the numbers of some of those other films, it kind of sounds like she needed Star Wars again for another boost. And then she's asked this, and this is where the contradiction comes in. Will it be weird to make a Star Wars movie without your co-stars Adam Driver, John Boyega, or Oscar Isaac? Now, before I go to what she said, last week, insider Jeff Snyder implied there is a lot more talent from the sequel trilogy coming back. So Daisy knows this, if it's true, but she replies no, because I don't know what is what, or who is who, in the new movie. Okay, now this is odd, because just a couple of sentences ago, she said she was given a rundown of the entire story, so she would know if Finn is back, if Poe Dameron is back. So I think this could have been a moment of panic and she was trying to not divulge anything. In a second interview she gave with the Today Show, she admitted she hasn't read any scripts, so she doesn't know every single specific, but she was told the overview of the story, which you would imagine includes other characters who are going to appear unless they have very diminished roles. I would wager that she does know. She goes on to say this, so much has happened for me since the Skywalker saga. I feel like a grown-up now. When I first started, I was like 20. I was the youngest on set. It took me the first 2 Star Wars films to feel worthy of being there. Now I'm in my 30s. The whole thing feels quite different. I've been able to work with other filmmakers, and hopefully, I've got better as a performer. And being in your 20s, having been in the West End, in London, in plays, and then suddenly being thrown into a galaxy far, far away after a phone call from J.J. Abrams, which she admitted in her last interview, especially as a young adult, would have been rather phasing. She's got much more industry experience. She's come into her own in the last few years, and she probably understands the character of Rey better as well. She revealed to the French TV program she featured in a couple of weeks ago that it was really after the last one came out, episode 9, that she started playing over scenarios in her head. What would Rey be like further down the line? What would she do different if she came back? And now that the new Jedi Order movie is set to be 15 years after the rise of Skywalker, Daisy has the opportunity to reprise the role and give a different kind of performance, which is what she's been teasing. The next movie, which could be part of a trilogy, is going to be nothing like 7, 8 and 9, and that's a very promising prospect. Now, just finishing on the Daisy Ridley topic, as I mentioned earlier, yesterday she appeared on the Today Show, and she was asked an admittedly very baity question about what she thinks of the recent controversy and discourse online, and she simply replied in a very professional way she thinks a lot of it is blown out of proportion. She went on to say this, "The interactions I've had with people have been nothing but wonderful. and supportive. I think we're gonna make a great film. I'm so excited to see her this enthused and can't wait to see her back. Over the last week or so, there have been a couple of unfounded rumours that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's been fired from the project, but at this stage, my dear friends, there is no evidence to suggest this is true. There were a couple of rumblings that Shawn Levy could step in place of Sharmeen if she steps away, but there is no evidence to suggest any of this is more than just the rumour mill. Always take everything you hear online with a huge grain of salt. There is no cancellation. It might not be the next film to come out. The Mandalorian and Grogu is first, but Daisy reiterates she is very excited to work with Sharmeen. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, in other Star Wars news, Dathomir and Dathomirians are returning in a big way in numerous Star Wars projects. We have Asajj Ventress returning in the Bad Batch Season 3, a big subplot to do with Dathomir in the Mandoverse with Thrawn, and now Star Wars have announced, coming in April of 2024, so just in a couple of months' time, a Darth Maul Black, White and Red comic series that takes place just before the events of Episode 1, when Maul was still young and under the tutelage of Darth Sidious. They say, quote, "But that does not make him a puppet or a tool. He is willing to make his own decisions, ones that could shake the very fabric of the galaxy." This, of course, is part of the initiative of the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, and Darth Maul, on behalf of Palpatine, has to face a very chilling group, the Final Occultation. They channel the dark side, but in a different way to the Sith, something which apparently is out of Palpatine's control. Very exciting stuff. And similarly, we have our first preview for the Mace Windu comic run. StarWars.com says this: "The party's just getting started. Mace Windu has proven to be one of Star Wars' most popular Jedi, from hanging out with Yoda on the Jedi Council to besting Jango Fett on Geonosis and taking on Darth Sidious in Episode 3. Few Guardians of Peace and Justice have left such a great impact, but very little is known about Mace's younger years, and now thanks to Marvel, that will soon change. The House of Ideas Star Wars Mace Windu miniseries kicks off next month, dialing back the clock for a Mace story set before the Clone Wars. And here we get our first glimpse, a few pages of preview, a very Jonah-inspired story. But share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.